while. It's one of the worst moments that happened when I was a kid.
To have perspective 20 years later and talk about it, which we don't really, is something worth doing.
These memories you wouldn't have had otherwise. That alone is so worth it.
This is a serious full circle moment.
I mean, I told them at MTV it was actually showing up on campus. Like this rumor that we had heard about for basically a year came true. And there they were, just on campus with a table and some packets. And my parents were like, okay, that's interesting. What's it going to be about? So they had a lot of questions. And I think especially as we started to get cast and get involved, they wanted to know more. But they were supportive. I think they knew that I had, I had some ambition there to want to get into entertainment. So they were on board. But it's also very much a documentary that was being pitched to us, right? So we didn't know it was going to be this, more soapy drama about stuff that's going on in our personal lives. So it was really teased as this documentary to all of us. Oh my gosh. I mean, when the show came out, it was like the first episode, you're like, wow, they really leaned into this and like took their liberties of what they wanted the story to be. I obviously knew that they were interested in, Lauren and I's friendship and it was a relationship, and then Kristen and I's relationship as well. And there were some questions and they were asking a few more within that. So that kind of piqued my interest, but I really did not think that they were going to hone in on it as much as they did until we actually saw the episode. And like, out the gate, they're like selling it as like Lauren and I are just straight up having an affair while Kristen and I were dating. We're like, whoa, hold on a second.
That's not how it went.
Yeah. I felt there was a lot that I wanted to say about what we experienced and kind of get the actual word out. I feel like now people are understanding, right? Of like, okay, obviously these kids all knew each other, they had their fun, but the story, the way that MTV told it to us wasn't exactly how their lives played out. But you do have the foundation of the truth of all of us knowing each other, those relationships and people feeling a certain way about certain people. And so, I think that now people have wised up just like us. They've grown up with the show and grown up with us. Everyone is looking back at that time and be like, oh, it was interesting. I remember wondering what exactly is going on. But now the resources for us to be able to share our story are out there, which is cool. So I feel good about where it's at for people to understand. There's only so much I could say as far as what MTV took in their liberties, because I have plenty that I need to take responsibility for. You can look at obviously going down to Cabo and the way that I completely ignored the fact that there were cameras there and let the emotions get the best of me and just, all that went down there. So those moments, I have no one to blame but myself. It's a lot about the relationships and it's the time period that MTV chose to like lay it onto, right? And the way things, at what time they played out. And it's tough because there's also moments where certain things were going on and maybe we hadn't spoken for a while. Some of us, like say Kristen and I in season 2, and then they have us come together and do a scene. And it's like, you can actually get that like awkward energy because we were still teenagers and still kind of like had these emotions at that time that we weren't processing appropriately. And so some of that gets on camera. So I think that having a better understanding of, the fact that I was being on camera and that this was a story that was going to be about my personal life and people were going to believe that, I would have made a lot more cautious moves. Even going into season 2, we still really didn't quite grasp what was happening. We wised up a bit. There was a bit of a guard up, but I think we could have still been a little bit better at that. Yeah, it was so fun to be able to work with everyone on it, and also confidently share with the rest of the cast. Like, look, we want everyone to walk away from this like feeling really glad that they did it. And we found a great partner in Roku. They had certain things that they needed as far as like, we wanted to just shoot in Laguna. They're like, well, we're going to need a stage day. We need to have a controlled environment, and then we could do some stuff down in Laguna. So we worked together to figure out the right balance there, which was great. We were pushing a lot to shoot more in town because we kind of wanted to capture that natural environment of everyone being back home and not so, staged isn't the right term necessarily, but in this soundstage environment where it's a little more stuffy, a little more tense. So we got to do that, which was great.
Yeah, and you got everyone back. Was anyone sort of hesitant when you first asked? Like, who was toughest to get on board?
It was really a general feeling throughout everybody of like, all right, what's the deal here? And what are we trying to capture with this? Like, what's the plan? And that apprehension was there from the jump. The guards were up, but really quickly, it's having a nice conversation. People were like, you know what? I think I'd like to be involved. Like, it'd be fun to get together. And we had a Zoom with everyone during COVID before the podcast. And we kind of said at the end of that, like, this was a nice experience. If we could just get everyone together at some point, that would be really nice. So it actually didn't take too much convincing, just a good dialogue about what we wanted to do and what the tone was going to be. Yeah, I was always kind of hoping I'd be able to get an opportunity through MTV. And from the minute I met them, I was like, hey, if you ever need a host or anything, I'd love to do that. And I say it in the special, like I wanted to be Carson Daly. I really wanted to be a VJ. I remember there was the superlatives for middle school where it was like most likely to, become president. And one of them was most likely to become an MTV VJ. And I was over there hoping that people were voting for me, not campaigning or putting the word out or anything. I was like, maybe people will see it too, or like that's the way I feel. Like that's what I should do. So, for me, it was cool to have those opportunities. But I think what really surprised me was just the way people were interacting with me on the street after the show had come out. That's where I had the first of like, okay, this is registering with people and they are watching it, and. I think I have to be a little bit more careful about how I move around the world these days because that there's some extra set of eyeballs and people are going to think that they know you in a certain way based on the show. So it changed. Everything changed for me. But thankfully it was been able to use it to our advantage in a way that we felt like where we wanted to be. We would see each other a couple times. We would catch up a little bit. It's so funny, the scene in the show, I'm like kind of mad at her. I'm like, it's like, oh, you're going, you're not going to be back for second semester. That's weak. And I remember watching that back like, dude, what's wrong with you? Like, why are you judging her so much for wanting to go back home? It's such a funny, like just young interaction between the two of us there. But yeah, we hung out a couple times. We both did our little worlds where she was at her school and I was like across town on campus at my school. So we hung out a couple times, but yeah, not all the time. We definitely want to do our own thing. She'll tell this story about when she got the DM. She was sitting with a friend and she was like, how do I know this name? And they're like, oh, I know him. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, I know that show. But she actually hadn't seen Laguna. She'd seen some One Tree Hill. So yeah, she didn't know too much. And I think that was a good thing. I was like, don't watch the show. You don't need to watch Laguna. Like, he's a different person, a little bit of a different vibe these days. So she gives me a hard time for some of the choices I made back in the day, but she's happily to see, that I've grown up since then. So
has she watched it now?
She hasn't watched all the way through. No. She's like, I've picked up enough. I understand the program.
What did she think of the reunion special?
No, she's been supportive. She's happy to see that everyone's come together to be able to do this, and feels like it's a positive experience for everyone to be involved and have this moment celebrating the show and celebrating how far everyone's come. And so she's very happy for us. Yeah, and she knows because she knows everyone within the cast. So a lot of us are still friends, and we see each other all the time. So she's just like, "Hey, go you guys!" She's supportive of all of us, and then she's happy to make fun of any sort of image or picture of me from back in the day where I just, I look like a little twig and just a little punk kid from California. The opportunity to be on Traitors was something that was too good to pass up. And I actually had to pass it up for season 3 and was like, oh no, I'm going to regret that, because the more and more I watched the show, the more and more I was a fan of it. So it came back around for season 4. I couldn't have been more excited, but also scared, because I knew right away, oh no, you have to do this. You can't, you are available for it, and you haven't done any reality in 20 years, but you're gonna do this. And so it was a process for me to kind of wrap my brain around that and talk to people and be like, okay, what does this look like? There's some things I can't control here, and that gives me some PTSD. There is an element of all right, who's going to be on the show? What are they going to have you do? And how are they going to edit you? And you can only control so much of who you are. But again, after watching the show and understanding that this little murder mystery, this campy vibe that's fun and silly and weird, that's the lead of the show, right? And from there, the reality stuff that happens in the castle and the relationships between the people is secondary. And I think for that, I was very intrigued by that and had great conversations with the producers. And again, just felt like they just kept leveling up with each season. And yeah, I knew if I passed it up, I was going to be regretting it. And so I'm so glad that I did now on the other end of it.
Were you surprised that they like thought of you?
Yeah, actually, I was very flattered. I remember saying that coming out of it. I was like, you know what? Very grateful to even be, somewhat relevant in a way to be able to go on the show and, to have that opportunity. So I was very flattered.
What was your reaction when you found out Rob won and was a traitor?
So I had no idea about Rob.
Yeah,
Rob was playing
so
such a great game. and he was in a circle with, Kristen, Maura, Mark, and myself there at the end, Eric as well, and we were all talking about Johnny and Tara, like, all right, something's going on there. And Natalie was like kind of rocking the boat. We didn't know what to think of her. So there was a kind of a trust circle there, and it felt like this group was going to make it to the end, at least 4 or 5 of us. And man, after that day where I went out, it totally switched. Like the rug got pulled out from underneath me. I'm like, man, did not see that coming. And finding out that it was Rob, I was like, he's going to win. Like, there's no way he's not going to win. Like, he's playing such a good game.
Yeah, he had them like all under his thumb.
I will say, I was so happy to hear from once Tara texted me when she was done and she gave me the lowdown on everything that happened. I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, well, it's like, when did you figure it out? She was like, it was actually after once, you were banished and you weren't a traitor, and we knew Johnny wasn't and I wasn't, and we started really putting the pieces together. That's when Johnny and I discussed like, all right, maybe something was going on with what Candace had left in that breadcrumb. So that part kills me. I wish Johnny and I came together and talked about why we both weren't traitors to each other. So then I think from there, that little Candace breadcrumb would have dropped a little faster for us, or would have been picked up by us a little faster. And then we could have gone after Rob, but it didn't happen. And he had everybody wrapped around his finger. So well played to him. You know what? After now seeing the show, I should have been a traitor. They just have all the fun. And you come out of it, and the thing that you're kicking is like, man, any questions I had, the traders have all the answers too. And when you're through this mind F of trying to figure out exactly what's going on, that's where some of those like silly, kind of almost embarrassing, like, oh, I totally thought I had it nailed, and then nope, you did not at all. So you can eliminate those moments and have much more control if you are a traitor. So I think taking that back, I would have wished to be a traitor.
But at least you got banished. You got banished, not killed, right?
Yes, I got banished.
I would rather get banished, because killed, it's just like then you just wake up and you're like, bye.
There's some people that think that like getting killed is like, oh, well, they took me out because they thought like maybe I was a threat. It's like, I would be careful about that, because I think there's a lot of like, who do we murder that leaves no trace? Yeah. Right? That is not somebody we're super suspect of. There are people that they want to just get out. Like when Colton got out, they're like, all right, he's playing too aggressive and he's gonna get onto us, so we got to take him out. So I think that, being banished and having that moment where you get to stand up and say your piece before you go, I think that's pretty fun. Yeah,
exactly. Like, I wouldn't want to just wake up and find out and then I have no chance to like even say anything.
Even though I was not prepared for anything to say at that moment. That's why I really walked up there and I was like, what am I gonna say right now? I just did not, I could see how it happened, but I was like, Rob voted for me, Eric voted for me. I was like, there's something suspicious with those guys. So you're computing that, but like, I need to say something, as I get out of here. So it was funny watching it back. I forgot that I talked about my eagerness and that I was a little too eager, and that's where you get convinced that your gut is right, but you're completely wrong. And that's where I was feeling, I think, pretty sheepish in that moment. Yeah, at least I told everyone they blew it, because I was a little pissed as well.